Coming up on Locked On NBA Daily. The Timberwolves went into San Antonio and took Game 1 last night. Is Anthony Edwards showing why he's a superstar among superstars? Meanwhile, LeBron James and the Lakers attempt to do the unthinkable again, and we look ahead to the biggest matchup questions we have for Cavs-Pistons. Locked On NBA Daily starts now.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. I'm Wes Goldberg, that's Matt Moore, and that is Haize. A lot happening here on a Tuesday. The Knicks dominated the Sixers last night to take Game 1. Lakers, Thunder, and Pistons, Cavs tip off tonight. And we have some news out of Chicago about a new front office starting to take shape. But let's start with the Timberwolves, who went into San Antonio and beat the Spurs in Game 1 last night. A ton to get to in this game, but I want to start with Anthony Edwards, who made a surprising return to the lineup after dealing with knee issues. He came off the bench, but was huge for the Timberwolves down the stretch of the close game. Here's more from Locked On Wolves host Ben Beacon.
I'm also going to go with Anthony Edwards for a stud in this game. He played just 25 minutes, 8 of 13 shooting, 2 of 3 on threes, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, only 1 turnover. And it was obviously a big turnover there at the end of the game that nearly cost the Wolves the game. But look, the Wolves aren't in the position they were in if Ant doesn't do what he did early in the fourth quarter with just a flurry of shots. The step back that was changed from a 3 to a 2. He did hit another 3 shortly after that. He hit a tough 2 going to the paint. The one that he hit on Vassell when he talked to, on Keldon Johnson when he talked to him after the play. Just an absolute display from Ant to put up 18 points on 13 shots in 25 minutes with really no burst. Didn't get to the free throw line at all. Did not look like himself, but he jumped when he needed to for a couple of key rebounds to get involved, on the glass. And then obviously the handle, the skills, all that stuff still there for Anthony Edwards. And here's hoping that even while playing every other day here, hopefully both knees really can continue to improve over time.
So it was surprising to learn that Anthony Edwards was even going to play in this game, and let alone do what he did down the stretch of that game. Matt, what did last night say about Anthony Edwards?
He is the superstar I think everybody wants. He is a superstar everybody should want. And it's not about him hitting that big shot over Wemby. It's not about what he's capable of when he's fully healthy. It's the fact that this guy pushed so hard to get back, compete, and play, made huge plays, played through all that discomfort, played through all that pain. And then after the game, on the telecast with the post-game interview, said, I've got to be better. I gave up 2 offensive rebounds late. I can't do that. I played terribly tonight. He had 18 points in this game, coming back from the knee injury, shot 8 of 13 from the field, was massive in them getting this win, and he's still like, I've got to be better. That's leadership. That is charisma. It is toughness. I love Anthony Edwards as a basketball player. He is the superstar everybody should want. Haize.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards is great. You know, the thing I always say about Anthony Edwards is that he can be the best player in any series that he plays in. He has that capability, and I don't say those things lightly. So, the Wolves they keep being this team, and I said it on yesterday's episode. Every time people count them out, they find a way to respond to it the last few years. And so, it's hard to bet against the Minnesota Timberwolves as long as Anthony Edwards is on that team and Chris Finch is the coach. They always find a way.
It's the interesting thing I think about Anthony Edwards is we get really wrapped up in his athleticism and his skill level and the fact that this guy just continues to get better every single year. But what always stands out to me about Anthony Edwards is that competitive will. And it kind of goes to Haize's point too about how you can't count this team out. There's a lot of players who are really skilled offensively, right? But there's very few players who have that competitive will that Anthony Edwards has and is willing to do things, to your point, Matt, beyond the scoring. We see so many young guards come to this league and be like, I'm going to be Kobe, and just basically just focus on the scoring part of it and not the other parts about it. Anthony Edwards talking about offensive rebounds, to your point at the end of that game. What he was doing on the court, he steps up defensively when they need him to. His coming off of these 2 bad knee issues, setting back screens on Victor Wembanyama down the stretch. I mean, doing the physical stuff, doing the dirty work. We don't see a lot of superstars willing to put in that kind of work, especially when they're hobbled and what sounds like might have even been a loose minutes restriction a little bit. You don't really see guys doing that, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't necessarily want to call out the other guys, right? Because it doesn't seem fair. We should make this more about Ant and less about the other guys. But I think it's a comparison point. If you're like, well, what do you, if you're still kind of like, I don't get what you're saying. Luka's not doing this. Jokic is not doing this. Jokic is not doing this at all, right? It's these guys that have that competitive fire, that competitive will, and the willingness to do whatever their team needs. One of my favorite things about Ant from covering the Nugget series that I've gotten a chance to cover is that after the games, he always makes a very clear point. And not just the Nugget series, this is an every night thing for him to shout out whatever teammate played well that night. Like, he does that to give them credit. He doesn't just talk about himself. He doesn't just say, like, that's me. Like, he's confident, he's cocky, but he knows how to lift other people up too. That's a massive deal, man. And I think it's a real benefit to have a guy like that as your franchise player.
Yeah, I mean, last year, even when he was talking about, when they went through a down stretch in 2024-25, remember he was calling out, just the play overall of the team, but he put himself first and saying, hey, I have to be better first. He's turned into a really good leader. And as long as he keeps developing like this, like, the sky's the limit for this team.
So they go into San Antonio, they steal game 1. I think the Timberwolves are very much in the driver's seat now of this series, which maybe sounds obvious because they're up 1-0. But, you don't get the best Anthony Edwards game. 11 points in the fourth quarter. He was sensational down the stretch, but also had a big turnover late that almost led to what could have been the go-ahead bucket for San Antonio. And he mentioned the offensive rebounds that he gave up on the glass. But, he only plays 25 minutes coming off the bench. It feels like I don't know when we're going to get fully healthy Anthony Edwards. We may never get fully healthy Anthony Edwards in this series, but I would presume we get healthier Anthony Edwards as this series goes on, perhaps. So, Haize, like, do you think the Timberwolves have the edge right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have the edge, like, stealing home court advantage away. They have to make sure they hold on to that when it goes back to Minnesota by trying to win both those games there. But, yeah, as it stands right now, they do. They came in and they played a great game. They only won by 2 points, of course, but the way they played down the stretch in that game, I think they have to have ultimate confidence right now going into game 2.
I liked them before the series.
You did.
Yeah.
They had the edge then. This team is they're not better. They're not better, but man, you want to know who I actually think was really great last night, and the numbers aren't going to really reflect it. He did lead the team in scoring, but Julius Randle was 8 of 20 from the field, 21 points, 5 turnovers, 5 fouls. Don't care. Randle set the tone. Be physical, go past them, get in the paint. I love that the Wolves are just like, oh, you blocked 5 shots, block 6. Oh, you blocked 10 shots, block 12. We're just going to keep coming at you. And the Spurs bought it. This is the best part of this tactic, is that when you do that, the Spurs start being like, well, they just keep attacking. I got to go down and help. Your guys blocked 12 shots. Stay home, man. Nope. Leaves open the corner 3 for Naz Reid. Massive shot. Like, these sequences, if you attack and you force that defense, if you mentally break that defense for any team and get them outside of their shell, that's where you really have them. And the Wolves had them in game 1. Spurs are going to have to really clamp down on their fundamentals and discipline in game 2.
They really don't have a natural matchup for Julius Randle, right?
No.
Like, they could try, maybe they dust off Harrison Barnes. I still don't, I don't feel
so.
great about
Barnes
that.
has the best matchup data against him last 3 seasons. He's done a phenomenal job on him. So, like, I would not be surprised if we see Harrison Barnes get put back into the rotation and have him play versus Moore. But this is the thing with Mitch Johnson. I don't know what he's going to do. Yeah. I don't know what type of playoff coach he is.
Haize, this is where I think we maybe overlook the experience sometimes. The Timberwolves, 2 straight Western Conference Finals. They know how to adjust in the middle of a playoff series. All of this is new for San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And even though in yesterday's episode when we talked about takeaways from the first round, I said, like, trust the young teams more. Experience is experience. And it's something that, as series goes on and become longer, inexperienced teams versus experienced playoff teams, I think that the gap between that, it shows clearer and clearer as the series goes on. So, we'll see. It's guaranteed at least now to go 5 games, maybe.
Okay. I wasn't in the building, and it's 30 seconds on TV. I will just say, go back and watch the end of that game and how the Spurs reacted after it. Because the whole thing, this was their demeanor. And this is kind of how they were after the game. Ah, shucks. We lost one. Well, guess you can't win them all. Oh, well, we'll just get back to beating everybody by 20 like we have all season. And I'm just like, do you know where you are? These guys are going to try and kill you. They're psychopaths. The Wolves are lunatics who are going to try and rip your throat out. Like Wemby before the series was like, I'm really looking forward to this one being more of an intellectual, interesting matchup. And like, I love Wemby, but I'm also like, kid, this is not an intellectual matchup. This is like you're in a street fight with a man with a switchblade with crazy eyes. You need to get ready for a fight.
What really stood out to me, to your point, Matt, the physicality that Minnesota brought to that game one. It felt that was the concern we had about Wemby in the playoffs, was that level of matching that physicality, and I don't think he matched that in game one. I know people say 12 blocks, but I don't think that those were very important blocks. 5
of 17 from the field. Jumper, 7 or what? 8 3-point attempts.
8 3-point attempts, 9 2-point attempts. The Minnesota Timberwolves will definitely take that if that's the norm in this series. We're going to move on. Could this be the last time that we see LeBron James suit up as a Laker? We'll talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like playoff basketball live and in person. The intensity, the crowd, the rivalries, it's a completely different experience when you're in the building. The NBA playoffs are where unforgettable moments happen, and being there in person just hits different. Game Time makes it incredibly easy to find tickets, even for those hard-to-get playoff games, in just a few taps. And with Game Time Guarantee, you know you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. Game Time makes it easy to find great seats in just a couple of minutes. One thing I really like, the price you see up front is the price that you pay. That means no surprise fees at checkout. And the seat view feature is a game changer too. You can actually see what your view is going to look like before you buy your tickets. And the zone deals are great if you're trying to save money. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seat, and you still get a great deal. Plus, with the lowest price guaranteed and ticket coverage, you can feel confident every time that you're buying tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to still fill sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, the skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually talking to the candidates who you want to talk to. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On NBA. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, the best way to support the show. Subscribe on YouTube. We are Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. It's time to get to some NBA news by asking the real questions behind some headlines.
What is real? How do you define real? It's impossible. I didn't say it would be easy.
Guys, the Lakers and Thunder kick off their second-round series with Game 1 in Oklahoma City tonight. The Lakers are huge underdogs in this series, but here is the real question.
What is real?
Haize, is this LeBron's last playoff series with the Lakers?
No. Oh, for the Lakers? Yes. He's not coming back to the Lakers. Yes, it completely changed the answer. This is the last
they completely
playoff series for the
switched.
Lakers.
Matt?
Yeah, this is it. I don't know. There's been, with the Cavs being shaky, like if the Cavs go out to the Pistons and Donovan Mitchell gets itchy, how does that work out? Like, that's a pretty interesting question.
LeBron swapping in for Donovan Mitchell, in other words?
No, just like it's more a matter of if the Cavs face an inflection point and aren't as good of a roster at the end of the summer, does LeBron still join there?
Oh, I see.
Right? Like if Donovan goes somewhere else, does LeBron want to finish with Cleveland if he can't really compete for a title? Then I think it's probably Haize's Golden State Wild Hogs concept. I think that the draw for him in LA is really significant. I think it's really strong. I just feel like the Lakers have burned so many bridges with him, and there's been so many pieces that have kind of outlined that. And I just don't know if this is like the Lakers are very much in the like, we'd love to have LeBron James back. We'd love for him to finish his career here, which there's a parentheses there of if he's willing to take what we'll pay him. And I don't know that LeBron's in the mood to deal with that. I think LeBron's going to want to set the terms like he always has of his career. And because of Luka, the Lakers don't feel like they have to do that. So I think this is his last playoff series in a Lakers uniform.
I'm going to go the other way. I think he re-signs with the Lakers. I just don't know where he's going to go. I understand that it might be Cleveland. Okay, like, are they really even wanting to do this at this point? I don't know. Your point, like, maybe it depends on what happens in the playoffs. I don't know. The war, like, what are you going to do in Golden State, really? Like, what are we talking about? I just think at the end of the day, he's in Los Angeles. He loves it there. They have the money to re-sign him at a certain number where a lot of teams don't. I just don't know where the money is going to come from other places. I kind of think he just stays put. I think he hangs out with the Lakers for another year.
I don't think it's about basketball, though. That's my thing. That's why I don't buy into the Warriors thing.
Right.
I just think he has always he scripts a narrative. Like, he tells the story of LeBron James, and like he's had to kind of consider that. Like, his legacy is so great, he's had to consider what that story looks like. And like, this is one of the funny things. People will talk about when he went back in 14, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's because they got the #1 pick." No, guys, he was going back anyway. Like, he had already decided because he missed Cleveland and he wanted to win a title there, and he was tired of Pat Riley trying to tell him what to do and not letting his friends do whatever they want in the organization. And so, like, with Cleveland, I think that there's a chance for him to just have that story be told. And that's the right story to tell. Like, I'll be honest, there's no other ending here that's going to feel right to me unless he goes back and finishes in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, I get it from the storyline standpoint, but we don't know if LeBron is focused as much. Well, LeBron's very aware of his legacy and everything, so I can't say that. But, like, I mean, going back to Cleveland is definitely a possibility. I think that is probably the most realistic destination if he's not going to be with the Lakers. But I would say don't count out like Golden State or anything too on it depends on Steph. If Steph pitches LeBron James, I think he can convince LeBron James to go to Golden State.
Also, the one thing about Cleveland, one of the highest payrolls in the league, and no real way to get out of that unless they make some sort of trade. And so if LeBron's going to go back in Cleveland, it's going to be on a pay cut of some kind, and a major one at that. And that's why it's the one thing I keep coming back to is, like, how much money is this guy really willing to give up to tell the ending of the story, maybe the way that a lot of people envision it ending. But let's go to the Chicago Bulls, who hired Bryson Graham as their new executive vice president of basketball operation. He comes over from Atlanta, had previously spent 15 years in New Orleans. And here's the headline really here. He's 39 years old and rose through the ranks in these previous organizations because of his eye for scouting talent, at least according to the recent reports around this. But here's the real question.
What is real?
Haize, does this hire signal a directional shift for the Chicago Bulls?
I mean, yeah, by definition, it definitely does. I think when you look at it's almost like they went through a hiring firm for this, and it almost looks like they told that firm that they want to prioritize people who have good ability to draft. One of the things that AK, our former executive vice president of basketball operations, was short on is he missed on a lot of draft picks, unfortunately. Bryson Graham have a greater kind of expectation that he's going to do better at that. But at the same time, you never know until people get in these jobs. The Bulls were heralded across the league for hiring Arturas Karnisovas, and it just didn't work out. So you never know exactly how somebody's going to do when they have to answer to nobody when they're the main decision maker. But I think they took a shot on one of the youngest guys, 39. They have a youth movement on the court, a youth movement in their front office. Let's see if they can get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I think any move that's like developmental, I think is probably a plus here. I'll be honest, I don't have a great sense of Bryson's impact within the Hawks just based off of the fact that there's been so much of a mess in trying to figure out who's in charge with the Hawks over the last 3-4 years. It's been like a very much the phrase I kept hearing from multiple scouts is too many cooks in the kitchen there, which is like not a criticism of Bryson at all. I just don't have like a good sense of what he's going to be able to bring to the table. I think it's good to go young. I think it's good to go developmental. I think that's all like the positive kind of signs that Chicago needs.
There was a report from Joe Cali, I believe, Haize, that Graham was maybe the instigator of fleecing New Orleans of that pick in the Derek Queen trade, and so At least he was involved in that. There's also reports that he was heavily involved in the drafting of guys like Trey Murphy in the middle of the first round. And so this guy's, I guess, eye for talent is the thing that he's known for. Last thing here, 5 days until the NBA draft lottery on May 10th. Here's the real question.
What is real?
Matt, what would be the wildest outcome in this year's draft lottery?
If the Hawks wind up getting number 1, that's going to be like absolutely bonkers, crazy, insane. Playoff run, all that talent, the ability to do to make whatever move that you kind of want. Like, are they if I don't think it makes sense for either side, but are they the honest team? Like that would absolutely, I think, set off a lot of craziness. I think there's so many kind of weird scenarios that can come out of the lottery, and trying to remember how often this winds up being something where we're all like, really? Like, it's that obvious? Like, how many times have we been like, oh my God, that team's going to get it? I'm just really fascinated to see what's going to happen here. The outcomes are potentially wild.
So Atlanta has that aforementioned New Orleans pick, so that's how they would end up being number 1. They have a 29.3% chance of ending up with a top 4 pick, 6.8% chance at the number 1 pick. Haize, what do you think is the wildest outcome?
Repeat that last part.
What do you think would be the wildest outcome in the lottery?
Yeah, I mean, my Chicago Bulls getting the number 1 overall pick. You know, that because we don't deserve it, because we're a terribly run franchise. But if the Bulls get it, that's going to be the wildest one, because I'm going to be absolutely crazy on this podcast for the whole entire rest of the month if in June the Bulls get the number 1 overall pick.
I did miss this because I forget that they didn't make the playoffs. It's OKC still has a 1.5% chance.
Yes, they do, which is crazy.
A 7.1% chance of ending up at the top 4. That would be if the real question was what's the outcome that would piss most of the teams off in the NBA, or piss off teams in the NBA the most, it would be
OKC Thunder.
OKC moving up into a top pick. Just shout out to my Miami Heat, man. 4.8% chance, top 4 pick. Hey, NBA, if you really want to send a message that tanking is no good, maybe give that number 1 pick to the team that tries to win above all else, sometimes to their detriment. Just saying.
The Heat I've heard repeatedly that the Heat were a big proponent of including the play-in teams in the expanded lottery
that
stuff.
Makes so much sense.
It does, because it's ethical basketball, and teams should try to win basketball games, and they should be rewarded for it.
I don't disagree with it, but it is very snooty and high-minded and high-horsing, and no one wants what's good for you when you do this. Everyone roots against Miami when they pull this nonsense.
What's new? Game 1 of Pistons Cavs is tonight. I think it's the hardest series to predict.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it after this.
You ever watch a game and think, I need to know what these fans are saying about this team right now? On Reddit, you're plugged into millions of fans who are just as hopeful, dramatic, analytical, and loyal as you are. The Reddit app is for authentic conversations about anything and everything. I love that there are different team subreddits for every single NBA team, so I know that if the Knicks are dominating the Hawks like in that game the other day, you can go right to the Hawks subreddit and say, how much are they breaking down and crashing out right now? I can go straight to the NBA one and see all kinds of great things. Reddit is where real fans hang out. Download the Reddit app and dive into your favorite team or the Mavericks subreddit for hot takes, fresh memes, and the group chat that literally never sleeps. Download the Reddit app today.
Today's episode is brought to you by Kalshi. The playoffs are here, and it's the most electric time in basketball. And on Kalshi, you can trade every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, and the championship. The Pistons right now trading at a 52% odds to beat the Cavaliers, meaning that's $100 pays out $183 if they win the series. As the playoffs heat up, those numbers move in real time, and you could buy in or out on any time. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probabilities change, you could buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. Kalshi, Kalshi, Kalshi. Trade on anything, 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contracts trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily part of your daily routine and making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen every day. We have a show for every playoff team, so check those out to go deeper on each of these playoff series. fascinating matchup, Cavs-Pistons. And I think, guys, the toughest second-round series to predict. Haize, what are your biggest questions or factors when you think about this matchup?
I mean, I think it's going to be a battle of defense versus offense. Which one wins that one? Like, I think you have a team that can go into a level defensively that I just don't know if the Cavs can withstand with the Pistons. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing that I look at first in that one.
Matt?
I have like 700 things here. One of the most interesting things, the Cavs are going to play at the level, right? So they're going to bring Jared Allen or Evan Mobley up, and Cade sucks against that coverage. In the regular season, out of 115 pick and roll possessions, the Cavs played at the level at 75 of them. Cade averaged 18.5 points per game versus the Cavaliers this season. Just 18.5. And you're like, well, okay, but those are probably blowouts. Nope, 35 minutes per night, 18.5 points. It takes away his ability, because if you get that edge, the move is to then get to the basket, get downhill, even if you're able to break it. Well, Cade's not great at layups. He wants the mid-range pull-up, which you can't do because you got two guys chasing you behind. So this is going to have to be a Duren series. It's just going to have to be a Duren, and Asar Thompson's going to have to play make. Like, that's a big leverage point in the series. Now, on the other end of it, I think Donovan Mitchell's in a really good position, but I think they're going to put Asar on James Harden and erase him, and he's just going to vanish into the ether. He's going to get dusted like Thanos snapped. Then you got the interior of Duren being able to handle the glass versus Mobley and Allen, along with Stewart. Duncan Robinson's going to need to hit. Tobias Harris has to hit corner threes in the series. That's going to be absolutely massive. It is a great tactical matchup, but the big thing here, I think, might wind up being that Donovan Mitchell, I think it has a much better matchup in this one as opposed to Cade.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting questions in the series is who guards James Harden and who guards Donovan Mitchell from Detroit's side. They have a lot of options, obviously, but Cade presumably would have to guard one of those guys. And that could put Cade into some foul trouble, especially if that guy is James Harden. So you put Asar Thompson on one of them. Go ahead, Haize.
It's the second round of the playoffs. James Harden's going to guard himself.
Maybe that's what you bet on, right? Like, you just say, hey, I don't know, Duncan Robinson, you do it. They could go that way. I think the pick and roll attack, to your point, Matt, from Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren, we obviously know they're going to try to get to that because that's Detroit's bread and butter. The Cavs are going to pack the paint. They're going to try to take that away from them. So I think this has to be a huge Tobias Harris series. And for the Tobias Harris was awesome down the stretch of the last series, and they're going to need more of that, I think.
Yeah, Javonte Green. You know who I actually think should play? He was great the regular season versus the Cavs, is Ron Holland. I don't know why JB took him out of the rotation. You need the length. You need the athleticism, and he's got some he's great at finding ways to score in transition. He knocked down a bunch of threes in the regular season series versus Detroit. Like, give him a chance. I was talking with Danny Cunningham over at Locked On Cavs and asking him who they should start at that fifth starter spot in the series. And I was like, isn't this a Jalen Tyson series? Like, this seems like Jalen Tyson would be a great matchup for Cade. And he was like, it's Wade. Cade has like a 27% true shooting percentage the last 3 seasons when matched up against Dean Wade. Those two I think is really interesting. But then there's a possibility that Kenny Atkinson, because sometimes Kenny, I think, loses his mind, is going to go offense with Sam Merrill. If that's the case, that plays into Detroit, I think.
Haize, I mentioned before, I think this is the hardest series of all these second-round series to get a prediction on.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you stand on this if we were to make a prediction? I won't hold you to it. Or maybe I will. I don't know.
Detroit in 6.
Where are you going, Matt?
This is going to sound really low down. I bet Detroit in 6. I'm picking Cavs in 6.
Okay. That's something to do with Kalashi, I'm sure. I think the Cavs have most of the advantage. When you go like just checklist who has the advantage on paper, I think the Cavs have the advantage. The problem is the Cavs are built to have advantages on paper, and then that paper gets shredded when it goes through the processor of the NBA playoffs over and over again. And I think this Pistons team is so physical that they're just going to take it to the Cavs. I'm going to pick Cleveland, and I don't feel good about it. I'm going to hold my nose, and I'm going to pick Cleveland in 7, and I do not feel good about it. We'll see what happens tonight. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.